Monday, 9 a.m. As usual, I logged into the office well, turned on my Zoom camera, poured myself almond milk coffee, and opened Tableau to finish the Q3 automation cost report. Everything was normal. I had a noon deadline and was working calmly and quickly, like always. At 9:07, I got an email from HR. Subject: Urgent, policy violation inquiry. I clicked it at first out of habit, then suddenly a chill hit my chest. Daniela, you are temporarily suspended from access to internal systems pending review of a possible violation of the company's confidentiality policy. Please do not engage in work activities until further notice. Regards. People Operations. My hands froze above the keyboard. Possible confidentiality violation? What? Where? When? Names, files, messages spun in my head. I remembered the Friday meeting, answering questions from Jeremy in legal, finishing the Project Eagle presentation over the weekend, even though I was officially removed from it because if I didn't do it, no one would. And now this? I opened Slack, it wouldn't connect. No access to Confluence, Jira, or Box. In 5 minutes, I ceased to exist as an employee. I looked up at my laptop screen. A Google Sheet tab was open in the top left corner. Q3, cost, tracking, final.xlsx. The irony, I even named the file final. Such sweet optimism. Checked my second inbox, an email from my manager Leslie. Hey Daniela, just for your information, legal needs to clarify some process stuff. Don't worry, probably nothing serious. Probably nothing serious? If only the tone wasn't off. If only Leslie hadn't avoided being direct these last 2 weeks. If only Trevor hadn't said on Friday's Zoom, let's be careful with data sharing, especially on the automation side. Some people don't always follow the process. Words hanging in the air, eyes looking straight into the camera, at me. I took a sip of coffee. It was cold now. Looked at myself reflected in the screen. This morning I was heading to a meeting. By noon, under suspicion. Because I know too much? Or because I didn't stay silent? Inside me a mix of panic and icy calm. I thought, they don't know, I have everything saved. Dates, screenshots, who said what, I'm not paranoid. Just used to smart women being seen as a threat. And then? Not guilty doesn't mean they won't make you guilty. The room was silent, only light from the window and a mouse cursor hovering over the log out button. But I didn't log out. I opened the folder on my desktop named Just in Case. While they think they caught me off guard, I simply started screen recording. Not because I'm angry, because this is America. Tech industry. And if you don't have proof, you're just a convenient scapegoat. I wasn't ready to fight today, but it seems the war had already begun. 2 months ago. July. Houston was melting in the heat. The office AC was blasting, and we were sitting in Zoom discussing what leadership called the Strategic Automation Acceleration Initiative. Within the team, we called it more simply, switching gears on the fly. The process was led by Trevor, a senior product manager with a visionary reputation. He loved buzzwords, TED-style presentations, and adored saying disrupt at least once a day. The problem was, structure rarely followed his words. On day 1, he said, let's rethink how we do reporting. No more legacy dashboards. Let's build something scalable, sleek, AI-driven. I thought, okay, interesting. I had a plan, concrete. Using Google Cloud Functions, Python scripts, automated CRM exports, and visualization in Looker. I'd done this before at a startup in San Diego, and it worked. At the first meeting, I shared the idea. Trevor nodded, paused, then said, I love the energy, Daniela, but let's try something less. Engineered. I want a no-code solution. Something fast, something fresh, maybe Notion, or Zapier. Or Airtable with, like, ChatGPT plugins? A chill ran down my spine. Airtable plus ChatGPT for monthly reports handling hundreds of thousands of dollars? I tried to object, carefully. If we ditch a stable backend, we can't control errors, especially in high-load scenarios. But Trevor was already drawing diagrams with arrows, circles, and sticky notes labeled Next Gen and Fast MVP on the virtual whiteboard. The next day, he gathered a subgroup. Jason, a former marketer recently turned data enthusiast, and Mia, a designer who'd never written a line of code but always said, "Let's keep the UX playful." Their task was to test alternative approaches. My role? No one really defined it. I was left in the shadows, just in case it all broke down. And I knew it would. The first glitches appeared 3 weeks in. The output reports didn't match internal transactions. Formulas in Airtable clashed with API variables. Instead of stopping to rebuild, Trevor just wrote in Slack, "Speed over perfection, team. Launch first, fix later." Mia reacted with a rocket emoji. Jason wrote, "Lol, love the chaos." That night, I opened a Google Doc and started documenting everything. Screenshots of incorrect reports. Commits pushed without validation. Conversations where I warned about the risks. Not to prove they were wrong, but because I knew that when it started to fall apart, I'd be the one to blame. This was the team. Everyone smiling on Zoom, throwing dub and emojis at each other. But no one trusted anyone. And I knew. If they ever decided to get rid of someone, it'd be whoever had the least influence. A woman. An immigrant. A specialist, not a visionary. So I gathered everything in advance. Not out of fear. Out of common sense. Week 3. I hadn't slept in 4 nights. Everything that could be no-coded was falling apart. Airtable crashed with more than 500 rows. The ChatGPT integration failed due to an expired key. One report showed 3.28 M, where it should have said plus 124K. But the team stayed silent, or pretended it was fine. Trevor, as always, posted in Slack on Friday. "Great sprint, everyone. Let's keep shipping. Mistakes are learning." But I knew if leadership saw that report on Monday, those mistakes would become incompetence. So I opened my old script, Python plus Looker. Set up the export, ran test data, it all matched. Sunday night after the team had all signed off, goodnight, I uploaded the clean version to the cloud. Documented every step, linked the results, and calmly posted to the Slack channel. Backup version of the report via GCP pipeline, passed all tests, screenshots and logs attached. D. A few people reacted lightning bolts, eyeballs. No comments. I didn't expect any. I just did it to stop the crash before it happened. Now, 1 week later. Company-wide Zoom, 40 people. Trevor's in his usual light blue shirt, cold brew in hand, trademark smug grin. He says, "Before we dive into Q4 strategy, quick kudos to the automation squad. We had some hiccups, but we pushed through. Special shout out to the new backend flow we're now using. Full GCP pipeline, clean metrics, full pass rate. That's what I call initiative." He pauses. "We built it last weekend. I wanted to test something more reliable." We built it. Mia claps. Jason nods. No one asks who built what. No one looks at me. I turn off my camera. Stare at the screen. Open Slack. My message and number project automation time-stamped, linked, verified. A full week before, we built it. Inside there's no rage. No shock. Yeah, it stings. But I'm used to it. I open my backups folder on Google Drive. Create a new subfolder. Stealth, Credit, Trevor, Pipeline. I save the screenshots, the Slack message, the timestamps. Label the file. Not revenge, just receipts. Because I know how this game works. You can be brilliant, precise, crucial. But if you're not loud, not charismatic, not one of the guys, you're invisible. Or worse, you're a resource. And if you want to stay whole, you save screenshots. Not out of paranoia. Not out of spite. But because in companies where credit isn't automatic, you document it manually. That's the reality. Wednesday, 9:42 a.m. I'm sitting with a coffee, open my laptop, and boom. Chaos. Slack is on fire like someone lit production on fire. Channel number, client insights, dozens of messages. Broken reports, weird numbers, blank fields. The highlight? From Ashley, our VP of Product. Can someone explain why the Q4 forecast is showing minus $17 million for a segment that was green last week? Then the classics roll in. Looks like something broke in the automation layer. Did we validate last push? Where's the fallback? Trevor shows up 5 minutes in. We're investigating. Possibly related to the override functions in the report logic, the ones Danielle proposed earlier. Danielle proposed. Just look at the language. Proposed. As if it were a vague suggestion, not something actually implemented. But the twist? I know what I built and what he did. The broken override function came from the innovative architecture he pushed for in Sprint 1. My version, the one he later claimed we built, didn't even include it. I warned them. It was all written. More importantly, it was documented. Trevor kept going. This wouldn't have happened if we stuck to the standard pipeline from week 1. I raised concerns when Danielle merged her logic. Silence. Then quiet emoji reactions. 2, 2, 2. As if the unspoken agreement was, yep, it's her fault. I closed my eyes, took a breath. The pain was there warm now, not sharp, because this time I had screenshots. I opened my Google Drive folder. Found the PDF from that exact week. Override logic warning, sent 3 weeks before prod deploy. My words, clear. I would avoid this branch for now, too many dependencies we can't control. There's a cleaner path. Signed. Timestamped. Server logs. Email, Slack. Jira comment. All saved. No anger, no drama. Just habit. I look at the evidence and I don't feel rage. I feel clarity. Because before, I could be buried under someone else's version of the story. But now I have light, dates, screenshots, receipts. And when all this ends, however, they spin it, the truth will remain. I sit there, sip my coffee, and quietly say to myself, I just take screenshots. And in that moment, I realize, I'm not a victim. I'm not on defense. I'm in the archive. And that means I have power. Just not the kind they notice. Not yet. Friday. 10 a.m. Juniper Conference Room, 6th floor. I was called in for a meeting with HR. No details. No counsel. Just a subject line. Confidential, policy violation inquiry. Linda from HR walks in, with Trevor beside her. Polite smiles, tension thick as concrete. On the table, a laptop, a folder of documents, a bottle of water. Standard setup. But this scene is different. Linda speaks first. Danielle, we want you to know this is standard procedure, but the allegations are serious. We received a report that you made unauthorized changes to the reporting system without notifying the team. That could be considered a security policy violation. I nod. Silently, let them speak. Trevor chimes in calm, measured. I warned her the override function was unstable. I have a copy of the message. She ignored it. That's when I reach into my bag. Pull out a small silver flash drive. Slowly, like a scene from a movie. Plug it into their laptop. Open the file. Internal timeline Danielle versus override incident. PDF. Everything laid out. Timestamps, screenshots, ticket IDs. Jira, Slack, emails. Code comments, chat warnings. Documentation all logged weeks in advance. No emotion. Just facts. Silence. Linda scrolls. Slowly. Something shifts in her expression. Eyebrows lift. Her voice lowers. This changes the context. Trevor is silent. For the first time, his face isn't angry, it's something else. The look of losing control. Linda turns to me. Thank you for bringing this in. We'll need to re-review the internal documentation. This situation is clearly more complex than we thought. And that's it. The turning point. Not because I shouted. Not because I cried. But because I came in with evidence. I stand up. Remove the flash drive. Gather my things. Look at Linda and say calmly, "If you need more screenshots, I have the full thread and the commit logs." Linda nods. Trevor still says nothing. I walk out of the room. Steps steady. And in my head, one thought. Sometimes your weapon is just a well-named file. Friday, 2:30 p.m. After the HR meeting, I get the official email. Subject line: temporary reassignment pending internal review. The body cold, like an auto reply. Danielle, you are temporarily relieved of your current responsibilities pending internal review. We will contact you upon completion of the assessment of submitted materials. Please do not consider this a disciplinary action. This is standard practice. Of course. Standard. 30 minutes later, I'm in the car. Radio silent. Even my favorite Spotify playlist, Focus and Flow, sounds like a funeral march. I get home. Take off my blazer. Make coffee not because I want it, but to give my hands something to do. Sit down. Open my laptop. Go to LinkedIn. Switch my status to open to work recruiters only. Then I write a post. Short, no names, no accusations, but with intention. Sometimes professionalism is just a folder of facts. Sometimes dignity is silence when you know you're right. Sometimes integrity looks like screenshots and quiet. Open to new opportunities where transparency isn't punished. I hit post. Close the laptop. 20 minutes later, it pings. +3 comments. +11 likes. An hour later, over 40. DMs start coming in. Danielle, saw your post. We've got a senior data ops opening, want to chat? You've always been solid. Let this be a step up, not a setback. Just so you know you're not alone. Been there. And I realize, this isn't about the job anymore. It's about what happens when you stop being convenient. I don't feel like getting revenge. I just feel peace. Like I walked out of a room where I couldn't breathe. And finally took a full inhale. Trevor can keep having meetings. HR can keep reviewing. I'm already moving forward. Monday, 11:12 a.m. I pour myself a cup of coffee, the kind that's too strong and a little bitter, like the first week of being let go. Although technically I haven't been fired. I've been temporarily removed from operational processes. As if I'm a virus, not a person with documented evidence. At that moment, a Slack ping lights up my screen. ADM. From Jason T. Hey, just wanted to say I saw what happened. Everyone did. We just, people are scared. I stare at the message. And realize, this is probably the first honest thing I've received from inside in this whole ordeal. I reply, appreciate it. I get it. A little later, my phone rings. Unknown number, but I recognize the voice immediately. Nicole, a former colleague from another project. Quiet, almost whispering. Do you know Trevor started scrubbing Slack? I freeze. What do you mean? Deleting old messages, notes, comments under tasks. He thinks if it's gone, it's gone. And the backups? Exactly, it's all archived. He doesn't get that everything's logged. He's just panicking now. Thank you, Nicole. You're brave. Number, I'm just done staying silent. A couple of hours later, HR emails me again. Subject: formal audit initiated. Message history review. Body: Danielle, thank you for the materials provided. We have initiated a formal audit of message activity related to the current matter. Please expect a response within 5 business days. It reads dry, but between the lines, something has shifted. They see now I didn't back down. That I'm not just running on emotion. I have structure, logic, and screenshots taken before Trevor started wiping things. By evening, another ping. This time on LinkedIn. A DM from an old analyst in legal. We only crossed paths twice. Unofficially, you did the right thing. Just hang in there, this isn't over. I close my laptop. Look out the window. Just another day in Portland. Wet streets, cars passing. Someone walking their dog. And I think, when truth comes out, it sounds like revenge. But revenge is something you do. Truth is just something you refuse to let disappear. And now, it's out there. In logs. In screenshots. In messages. In the voices of people who were once silent, but are finally beginning to speak. And Trevor? He's still in Slack. But now, under a very different spotlight. A week passed. 7 full days of silence. No emails, no calls, just the occasional message from people checking in. You holding up? Any updates? Friday morning, a notification pops up. Zoom call HR and legal vertical bar 10:30 a.m. vertical bar. Topic, follow-up. For the first time, not investigation, not allegation, just follow-up. I sit down in front of my laptop. Hair in a bun. T-shirt that reads, "Not today." While waiting, I take a few deep breaths, not because I'm nervous, but because I know they're going to speak differently now. The screen lights up. Familiar faces. Rob from HR. Next to him, a lawyer with a serious expression. And unexpectedly, someone from the executive board, no camera on, name visible, Caroline M. Rob begins. Danielle, thank you for joining. We conducted a full audit internal communications, Git history, and Slack archives. We confirm, you acted in good faith, and the accusation had no basis. Moreover, your documentation helped uncover systemic issues. He pauses. I look straight into the camera. Calm. The lawyer continues. We deeply regret what you've had to go through. Project manager Trevor has been temporarily removed from leadership duties pending a formal review of his conduct. Rob adds, we'd like to offer your reinstatement to the project and an individual meeting with our VP to discuss your career development. I hear all this like a movie. The same Zoom where I was once treated like a liability is now a space for apologies. Same faces. Different tone. Respect sounds louder when you stay quiet and let the facts speak. I smile. Not because I forgive, but because I've already moved on. I respond calmly. Thank you for the acknowledgement. But I already have another interview scheduled with a startup in Seattle, where teams are built on trust, not fear, where I wouldn't need screenshots just to be heard. They glance at each other. Caroline M. from the board unmutes for the first time. Danielle, if you ever decide to come back, please contact me directly. People like you are exactly what any company needs. I nod. Close my laptop. They'll remember that call. I'll forget it. Because I'm headed somewhere new. Where Zoom is just a meeting, not a survival arena. Where trust isn't proven through PDFs. Sometimes winning doesn't mean returning. Sometimes it means walking away when they finally ask you to stay. 3 days have passed since the Zoom call with HR. My LinkedIn post is still making its rounds. Sometimes integrity looks like screenshots and silence. 400 plus likes. Comments from engineers, analysts, even former HR directors. Someone writes, "Thanks for reminding us that truth still matters." Then an email lands in my inbox. Subject, Opportunity with Purpose from Halcyon Systems, Boston. At first, I wanted to ignore it. The voices from my old team still echoed in my mind. You're too analytical, you should be in back-end, not strategy. But I opened it and read, Danielle, we've been following your case. It's become a touchstone for anyone working at the intersection of data and ethics. We're building a product where data integrity isn't an afterthought, it's the foundation. You've shown that you stand by logic, even where charisma and pressure dominate. We'd like to discuss a role, Head of Data Integrity. I stared at that line. You've shown. Not you claim. Not allegedly. They saw. And they concluded. 2 days later, the interview. A Zoom call, the CTO, head of people, and the product lead. The conversation was serious. Not about team vibes or creative chemistry, but about version conflicts, data layer transparency, and log architecture. At one point, the CTO says, "At Halcyon Systems, we have a principle, truth over authority. And we want someone leading this domain who's already proven they live that way, not just say they do." I don't smile. I just listen. For the first time in a long while, I feel seen for what I do, not how I say it. A day later, the offer. Boston, $190 K base, equity. Role, head of data integrity. They write, "We know you're not chasing drama. You're looking for a place where logic is respected again." I sign. No champagne. No new chapter selfie. Just a signature. Because this isn't triumph. It's a return to myself. To a place where numbers speak instead of being shouted over. Where work isn't a game of influence, but a structure of meaning. There are plenty of companies where volume replaces substance. But there are also places that seek those who don't protect themselves. They protect the truth. And now I'm in one of them. It's been a month since I started at Halcyon Systems. The team is quiet, precise, almost no unnecessary calls. At the first all hands, instead of an inspirational video, we got a walkthrough of our logging framework and decision transparency model. For the first time in a long time, I felt, I'm not the only one. Today, a webinar. Topic, data ethics in real life, when you're the only one who knows the truth. Analysts, product managers, HR specialists all joined. From New York to Seattle. 700 people in the chat. I speak without slides, just words. In the modern office, common sense is often the least valued thing, especially when it speaks calmly, without labels. Sometimes you'll be right and still lose the vote. Sometimes your concerns will be called suspicion or sabotage. But if you have facts, keep them, even if no one believes you. Yet. I pause. Then I share my screen. Open Finder. Show a simple folder. Name, evidence. Created a month and a half before anything started. And I say, this folder isn't about revenge. It's where I stored common sense. While others hoped memory would be short, I had a long story with timestamps. Messages appear in the chat. Goosebumps. This is the most quietly powerful webinar I've attended. Thank you for showing what quiet integrity looks like. I stop sharing. Close Zoom. No applause. Just the desk lamp, a cup of cold coffee, and calm. Truth sometimes speaks in a whisper. But it's the voice people remember longest.